What price did Hollywood legends pay for the costumes that became cinematic legends? From Judy Garland's amphetamine-fueled corset on The Wizard of Oz to Shirley Eaton's shellac-sealed body in Goldfinger, these garments carried hidden dangers, poisonous makeup, crushing weight, and physical strain under searing lights. Join us as we uncover the dark secrets behind iconic Hollywood costumes, where beauty meets brutality, and every stitch tells a story. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Few films are as visually iconic as The Wizard of Oz, but behind its Technicolor wonderland lay a series of physically dangerous and ethically questionable costume decisions. Burt Lahr's cowardly lion costume was crafted from actual lion pelts, complete with fur and leather backing. It weighed over 60 pounds and became nearly unwearable under hot studio lights. Lahr sweated so heavily inside the suit that it had to be dried overnight with industrial heaters. The Tin Man was another cautionary tale. Originally cast as Buddy Ebsen, the actor suffered life-threatening aluminum poisoning from the makeup powder applied daily to simulate tin. He was hospitalized and replaced by Jack Haley, who wore a revised version of the makeup that still caused him a serious eye infection. Even Dorothy's famous ruby slippers came with complications. Though dazzling on screen, they were created for aesthetics rather than comfort. Multiple pairs were made, some with felt soles, others with bows stitched at awkward angles. One original pair was stolen in 2005, triggering a 13-year FBI investigation. When finally recovered in 2018, it turned out they'd passed through the hands of black market collectors. And Judy Garland herself, forced into a restrictive corset to appear younger, pumped with amphetamines by studio doctors, and berated about her weight, she endured more off-screen torment than her costume ever suggested. Gone with the Wind, 1939. Gone with the Wind delivered grandeur through every stitch of fabric, but the reality was far less romantic. Vivien Leigh's portrayal of Scarlett O'Hara required tight, laced corsets to replicate the antebellum silhouette. Her waist was reduced to an astonishing 17 inches, a standard achieved through intense corsetry that left bruising, shortness of breath, and internal discomfort. Off-camera, Leigh frequently fainted between takes. One of the film's most iconic outfits, the curtain dress, was designed to embody Scarlett's desperation and resourcefulness. But the symbolism was based on a painful truth. Real Southern families had, during and after the Civil War, actually turned household items like curtains into makeshift clothing. The dress's heavy green velvet fabric weighed heavily on Leigh, both physically and emotionally. With filming taking place in high heat and humidity, the costume was soaked in sweat by the end of most days. The studio's obsession with authenticity extended even to the brass buttons and hand-stitched trims, but this commitment to realism came at a cost. Leigh was often required to wear the same dress for days at a time during reshoots, resulting in skin irritation and muscle strain. Gilda, 1946. Rita Hayworth's strapless black satin gown in Gilda became a visual shorthand for 1940s Hollywood glamour. The way she tossed her hair and peeled off gloves in that unforgettable nightclub scene catapulted her into sex symbol status overnight. But what the camera didn't catch was how uncomfortable Hayworth was in her own skin, and in the image that gown cemented. The tight bodice had to be sewn onto her before every take. There were no zippers, no room for error. Breathing deeply risked tearing seams. She couldn't sit down without crew members holding her gown in place to avoid damaging the delicate fabric. Behind the scenes, Hayworth was enduring intense emotional turmoil. The gown may have captured desire on screen, but off-camera, it became a symbol of typecasting and entrapment. She later admitted, "Every man I knew went to bed with Gilda and woke up with me." The disconnect between her real self and the glamorous sexualized character she played ate away at her identity. She spent years trying to shake off the image the dress had etched into public consciousness, but the industry wouldn't let her forget it. The 7-Year Itch, 1955. The white halter dress Marilyn Monroe wore in The 7-Year Itch is one of the most famous costumes in cinema history, but the image of Monroe standing over a subway grate, skirt billowing in the air, came with a devastating cost. That single moment, intended to be flirtatious and playful, triggered the collapse of her marriage to Joe DiMaggio. The scene was shot in front of a crowd on Lexington Avenue in New York, Photographers shouted, bystanders ogled, and each take required Monroe to perform the same lift as flashes exploded around her. DiMaggio watched from the sidelines and stormed off, humiliated. That night, they fought violently. Weeks later, Monroe filed for divorce. The dress itself, designed by William Travilla, was made of lightweight rayon acetate that Monroe constantly had to keep from flying too high. The crew pinned weights into the hem, but even that didn't help much. Her discomfort grew with every take, worsened by the leering crowd and the studio's insistence that the scene be as provocative as possible. Monroe later described the shoot as humiliating. The dress may have captured Hollywood's fantasy, but it destroyed a very real relationship in the process. Psycho 1960. When Alfred Hitchcock filmed Psycho, he knew exactly how to use costumes to disturb the audience. Janet Leigh's character, Marion Crane, spends the first act in lingerie, first white, then black, a deliberate contrast to her moral descent. But what seemed like a minor design decision stirred moral panic and left Leigh permanently altered. The opening scene features Leigh in a white bra and slip, highly provocative for the era. Hitchcock personally instructed the costume department to make the lingerie real, stark, and uncomfortably intimate. The close camera work intensified its voyeuristic tone, and censors almost rejected the scene entirely. During the now infamous shower scene, Leigh wore moleskin patches and skin-colored adhesive to maintain modesty, but water and sharp lighting revealed more than intended. She later confessed to suffering anxiety and fear of showers for the rest of her life. "It was only a movie, but it never left me," she told interviewers. Cleopatra, 1963. Elizabeth Taylor's wardrobe in Cleopatra is the most expensive in cinematic history. Costing over $200,000, the film's 65 costume changes became symbolic of Hollywood extravagance. But behind the shimmer of gold and gemstones lay chaos, illness, and financial near ruin. Taylor's golden robes and towering headdresses may have looked regal, but they were so heavy and restrictive that she reportedly suffered migraines and neck strain throughout the shoot. Some of the dresses were made of hand-stitched gold thread, others of rigid, beaded materials that scraped her skin raw. She required assistance simply to walk onto the set. The costume budget spiraled out of control just as production delays and health issues plagued the shoot. Taylor nearly died from pneumonia during filming, halting the entire project for weeks. As costs ballooned, 20th Century Fox was forced to sell off backlot properties just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, Taylor's affair with co-star Richard Burton ignited a media frenzy. Paparazzi often caught the mid-costume, Taylor draped in Cleopatra's finest, as they exited sound stages hand in hand. The public devoured the romance, but the studio suffered. Goldfinger, 1964. When Shirley Eaton's character was enveloped in gold paint and Goldfinger, the result was unforgettable and hazardous. Costume and makeup teams devised a custom blend of metallic powder, shellac, and a fast-drying adhesive to achieve the lethal sheen seen on screen. Eaton spent hours in the makeup chair as technicians painstakingly coated every inch of her body. The shellac base sealed her pores, causing her to overheat under the hot studio lights. During takes, Eaton struggled to breathe through the stiff coating, and crew members kept an oxygen mask on standby. A persistent rumor claimed Eaton had died of skin suffocation when filming Wrapped. In reality, she emerged from the experience shaken but alive, her skin red, raw, and chemically irritated. Removing the gold required repeated applications of solvent, each wipe bringing tears to her eyes. Eaton later described feeling trapped inside her own skin, her movements restricted by the rigid layer of paint. The scene's dramatic impact belied the physical toll it exacted. Crew logs note that Eaton suffered mild chemical burns on her chest and arms. Despite the ordeal, Eaton's golden tableau became one of the most iconic images in the James Bond franchise. The painted woman sequence cemented Goldfinger's reputation for inventive and risky practical effects. Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961. Audrey Hepburn's little black dress in Breakfast at Tiffany's remains a masterclass in understated elegance. Designed by Hubert de Givenchy, the sheath silhouette featured a bateau neckline, low back, and floor-grazing hem. To complement the gown, Hepburn wore elbow-length gloves, a pearl choker, and oversized sunglasses, an ensemble that defined 1960s chic. Yet behind the glamour lay unexpected challenges. The dress's cut required perfect posture and minimal movement. Hepburn trained for days to walk, sit, and raise a coffee cup without wrinkling the silk. The fabric was delicate, prone to snags, and demanded constant attention from wardrobe assistants. On location, a single misplaced pin could tear a seam, forcing costly repairs under tight shooting schedules. Hepburn herself admitted to feeling constrained by the rigid bodice, which left her breathless after long takes. More troubling was the psychological weight of the costume. Hepburn identified with Holly Golightly's vulnerability, but the sexualized image of the gown sometimes overshadowed her performance. Press photographs focused on the dress rather than the actress, reinforcing the notion that Hepburn's appeal lay in her appearance alone. Though the costume elevated breakfast at Tiffany's into fashion legend, it also became a symbol of the industry's tendency to objectify leading ladies, an issue Hepburn privately resented. Dracula, 1931. Bela Lugosi's black velvet cape in Dracula is inseparable from the character's mythos, yet it carried its own burdens. Crafted from heavy wool with a satin-lined collar, the cloak weighed over 10 pounds. Under the sweltering studio lights, Lugosi's broad shoulders ached, and the fabric trapped heat against his body. In long, silent takes, he had to hold the collar high to achieve Dracula's signature silhouette, a posture that exacerbated his chronic back pain. Typecasting became the cape's darker legacy. After the film's release, Lugosi found himself unable to escape the role. He toured in vaudeville, performing Dracula readings and photo ops in full costume to make ends meet. Fans demanded the familiar black cloak and hypnotic stare. Lugosi complied even as he watched his broader acting career slip away. In later years, the cape appeared in television commercials, horror conventions, and charity events, each appearance a reminder that Lugosi was forever bound to his most famous creation. When Lugosi died in 1956, the Dracula cloak was auctioned to collectors, fetching a price that reflected its cultural significance. She Done Him Wrong, 1933. Mae West's portrayal of Lady Lou in She Done Him Wrong relied on a figure sculpted by ruthless corsetry. To achieve her signature hourglass silhouette, West wore a custom steel-boned corset cinched so tightly that crew members sometimes had to cut her free between takes. The corset compressed her ribs, making deep breaths painful and limiting her on-screen movement. Under the weight of the boning and the layers of petticoats beneath her gowns, West endured bruising along her ribcage and back. Behind the glamour, the constriction sparked fainting spells that threatened to halt production. On more than one occasion, West collapsed into the arms of her costumer, only to be steadied and laced back into her corset so the next shot could proceed. The physical toll extended beyond discomfort. Long-term wear of such restrictive garments has been linked to musculoskeletal damage and chronic breathing issues. Yet West leveraged her enforced silhouette into a powerful persona, turning each gasp for air into a seductive pause. Audiences saw confident swagger. She felt every jolt of bone and pinch of fabric. When the final cut premiered, the corset remained invisible to viewers who only saw the result, a woman in control of her curves. In reality, West's freedom of expression came at the cost of literal bodily restriction. High Society, 1956. Grace Kelly's wedding dress in High Society embodied fairy tale romance, but its construction concealed a silent burden. The ivory satin gown featured a fitted bodice and voluminous skirt designed to foreshadow Kelly's real-life transition from Hollywood star to Princess of Monaco. Each dress was custom-tailored with layers of tulle, silk organza, and hand-stitched lace appliques. The skirt alone weighed nearly 10 pounds, dragging on the floor and requiring constant adjustment by 2 wardrobe attendants. During extended takes, Kelly struggled with the weight and stiffness of the fabric. Walking upstairs or crossing uneven studio floors demanded careful choreography to prevent tripping or tearing delicate seams. In rehearsal, she practiced lifts and turns until the dress felt like a second skin. Yet every movement risked ripping the fine lace or distorting the silhouette. The Godfather, 1972. Marlon Brando's transformation into Vito Corleone in The Godfather hinged on a deceptively simple costume choice, an oversized tuxedo paired with custom cheek prosthetics. The suit, tailored several sizes too large, created a drooping silhouette that accentuated Corleone's world-weary presence. Beneath the jacket, Brando stuffed his cheeks with cotton wadding to achieve the character's distinctive jowls and gravelly voice. The cotton placement required frequent adjustment between takes. Even a slight shift altered Brando's speech patterns. The heavy wool suit, lined in thick satin, trapped heat under studio lights, causing Brando to sweat through multiple shirts per day. The added bulk on his torso made sitting and standing transitions stiff and deliberate, reinforcing the Don's calculated movements. Prosthetic work on Brando's face introduced its own challenges. Adhesive used to secure the cheek pieces irritated his skin, leading to redness and occasional blistering around the mouth. Makeup artists applied oil-based creams to blend edges, but the process took hours and demanded Brando remain motionless. Star Wars, 1977. Darth Vader's imposing silhouette in Star Wars became an instant icon, but actor David Prowse endured a daily ordeal to bring the character to life. The helmet alone weighed 5 pounds and rested heavily on Prowse's neck, forcing him to crane his head back for extended periods. The full-body armor, molded from fiberglass and plastic, added another 20 pounds, restricting his range of motion and vision. The costume's design included a chest control panel wired to blinking LEDs. While visually striking, the panel's wiring often pinched Prowse's ribs when he leaned forward. The thick cape, made from heavy wool, trapped heat in the studio's warm environment. Prowse's breathing became labored inside the rigid mask, which muffled his voice and required voice actor James Earl Jones to dub every line in post-production. During action sequences, the armor's inflexibility led to bruised shoulders and scraped elbows. Prowse learned to conserve energy, adopting Vader's slow, deliberate gait to minimize discomfort. Between takes, he relied on assistants to help remove the helmet so he could catch his breath. Superman, 1978. Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Superman introduced the world to a bright blue hero, but the spandex suit came with its own set of complications. Made from nylon and lycra blends, the costume was intended to appear seamless under film lights. In reality, the non-breathable fabric clung tightly to Reeve's skin, trapping sweat and causing severe rashes along the seams. Long hours on set meant repeated costume changes. Reeve sometimes spent up to 20 minutes in a small tent just to slip into the damp suit. The raised chest emblem, made of rubberized vinyl, added stiffness to the torso, making reclining or leaning back uncomfortable. During flying scenes, wind machines buffeted Reeve against the suit, creating chafing around his shoulders and hips. The red cape, attached at the shoulders, weighed 3 pounds when dry and nearly doubled when soaked from mist and rain effects. Reeve learned to compensate by arching his back, leading to occasional lower back spasms. Despite these trials, the costume's vibrant colors and sleek design became synonymous with the character's optimism. Reeve's discomfort remained invisible to audiences, who saw only the embodiment of hope. In truth, the suit was a second skin that tested his patience, endurance, and dedication to the role. Pirates of the Caribbean series. Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow and Keira Knightley's Elizabeth Swan outfits epitomized pirate fantasy, but each came with hidden hardships. Depp's layered costume combined heavy wool coats, leather vests, and multiple scarves. In tropical filming locations, the ensemble caused heat exhaustion. Crew logs record instances where Depp required medical breaks after fainting. His braided hair and dreadlock extensions, soaked in salt water, became matted and smelled of mildew by day's end. Knightley's corset bodices and hoop skirts added another layer of discomfort. The boning in her corset pressed into her ribs, making deep breaths painful during long takes on unstable ship decks. Underneath the skirts, she wore multiple petticoats that restricted her stride and caused bruising along her hips from rubbing against the wooden railings. Both actors contended with costume maintenance challenges, saltwater stains, mildew growth, and torn fabric that needed daily repairs. Yet their commitment to authenticity paid off on screen. Sparrow's swagger and Swan's transformation from aristocrat to pirate heroine both hinged on costumes that tested their physical limits, reminding audiences that cinematic fantasy often demands real-world sacrifice. Gladiator 2000. Russell Crowe's journey as Maximus in Gladiator required donning 45 pounds of leather and metal armor for every battle sequence. The cuirass, pauldrons, and greaves were custom-fitted, but left little room for airflow under the Mediterranean sun. On-location shoots in Morocco saw temperatures soar above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, turning the armor into a furnace that sapped Crow's strength and stamina. The weight distribution of the metal plates caused muscle fatigue in Crow's shoulders and lower back. Fight choreography, demanding rapid sword swings and agile footwork, became a grueling test of endurance. Between takes, Crow often collapsed onto straw bales to rest his aching limbs. The leather straps that held the armor together chafed his skin, leading to raw abrasions on his torso. Crow's horse-riding scenes added another dimension of discomfort. The metal gauntlets hindered his grip on the reins, and the layered tunics restricted torso rotation. Yet each strained breath and every drop of sweat contributed to the visceral realism that defined Gladiator's epic scope. The armor's burden mirrored Maximus's own trials, blurring the line between actor and character in a performance that resonated worldwide. The Matrix, 1999. Keanu Reeves's black trench coat in The Matrix symbolized Neo's rebellion, but crafting a garment that balanced style and function proved difficult. The costume department experimented with dozens of fabrics before settling on a heavy wool blend with a water-resistant coating. The weight of the coat, combined with its tailored fit, restricted Reeves's arm movements during martial arts sequences. The coat's length, reaching mid-calf, meant it snagged on wires and set pieces during wire-fu stunts. Reeves underwent additional training to adjust his fighting style, learning to compensate for the coat's drag and stiffness. Rain-soaked night shoots turned the trench into a waterlogged barrier that chilled Reeves to the bone between takes. Maintaining the coat's crisp silhouette required constant steaming and pressing under tight time constraints. On-location scenes in Sydney's rain-soaked streets demanded quick costume changes to swap damp coats for dry ones. Reeves's commitment to wearing the actual coat, rather than a lighter stunt version, lent authenticity to his movements, but deepened his physical discomfort. The final image, a sleek figure moving effortlessly through bullet time, belied the hours spent wrestling with fabric, weight, and weather. Neo's iconic coat became a character unto itself, its presence felt in every slow-motion leap and every rebel stance. Titanic, 1997. Kate Winslet's portrayal of Rose in Titanic hinged on the Heart of the Ocean necklace, a fictional blue diamond whose replica became a central plot device. The primary prop was cast in sterling silver and cubic zirconia, weighing nearly half a pound. Suspended on a delicate chain, the necklace tugged at Winslet's neck, especially during scenes where she tilted her head or reached overhead. Beyond the necklace, Rose's evening gown, complete with beaded embroidery and silk overlays, weighed over 12 pounds. Winslet rehearsed walking in the cumbersome skirt to avoid stumbling on the ship's simulated deck. During the grand staircase scene, hidden harness points beneath the dress supported Winslet's weight for the descent, but the fittings left red marks on her hips. The necklace's symbolic weight paralleled Rose's emotional burden as she navigated class divides and personal liberation. Yet the physical tug of the gem was constant. On windy deck shoots, Winslet felt the necklace jerk against her collarbone. Despite these challenges, the combination of jewelry and gown created an enduring image of doomed romance, each weighted moment reflecting both narrative tension and tangible strain. The Dark Knight, 2008. Heath Ledger's embodiment of the Joker in The Dark Knight extended to a costume that blurred the line between actor and character. The purple suit, vest, and pinstriped shirt were custom-tailored to look disheveled and worn, with intentional stains and tears. Makeup artist John Caglione Jr. developed a greasy, creased clown face that Ledger applied himself each morning, layering white grease paint, black eyeliner, and red lipstick in uneven strokes. The combination of heavy fabrics and layered clothing made the suit oppressive under studio lights. Ledger's leather gloves, lined with cotton, caused his hands to sweat and slip when handling props like knives and cards. The shoes, polished wingtips, offered little traction, leading to near falls on set. Between takes, Ledger often peeled off layers, revealing sweat-drenched undershirts. Psychologically, the costume became a tool for method immersion. Ledger's insistence on wearing the full outfit during rehearsals deepened his identification with the Joker's chaos. The resulting performance, haunted, erratic, and intense, earned acclaim, but also sparked debate over the toll it took on Ledger's mental health. The Joker's costume was not merely attire, it was a vessel for transformation, one that left marks both visible and unseen. Black Swan, 2010. Natalie Portman's descent into the Black Swan in Black Swan was mirrored by the physical demands of her ballet costumes. The custom tutus were made with layers of stiff netting and silk, each weighing several pounds. Prosthetic feathered wings attached to her shoulders added another layer of rigidity that limited arm extension and caused bruising where the harness rubbed. Portman underwent intensive ballet training to move convincingly in the costumes, but the weight distribution strained her back and shoulders. The tutu's wires occasionally poked through the fabric during lifts, drawing blood on her thighs. Makeup and hair teams applied pale foundation and sculpted her hair into a tight bun to complete the swan-like illusion, but the pressure of the hairstyle led to tension headaches. Beyond the costumes, Portman's extreme weight loss, she dropped to 85 pounds, raised concerns among medical professionals. While the film's narrative demanded a fragile, ethereal figure, the combination of restrictive costumes and rigorous training pushed Portman's body to its limits. The result was a haunting performance that blurred the line between art and self-destruction, each costume piece a fragment of her character's fractured psyche. Tron Legacy, 2010. In Tron Legacy, the light suit became a defining element of the film's futuristic aesthetic. Crafted from rubberized fabric and embedded electroluminescent EL wire, each suit required custom wiring to trace circuit patterns. The wiring was insulated but still conducted heat, turning the suit into a low-voltage radiator under the studio's hot lights. The tight-fitting material restricted Reeves and Garrett Hedlund's movement, forcing them to adapt fight choreography to avoid tearing the EL wire. The wire itself was fragile. A single misstep could break a circuit, leaving dark patches that ruined continuity. Repairs involved delicate soldering between takes, adding to already lengthy costume change times. The suit's back panels housed battery packs, each weighing 2 pounds and clipped onto a harness beneath the outer shell. The added weight shifted during action sequences, causing discomfort across the actors' lower backs. Sweat buildup inside the suit led to short circuits that sometimes caused the EL wire to flicker or go out entirely. Despite these technical hurdles, the glowing costumes created a visual language that defined the grid's digital world. The physical constraints of the suits became part of the actors' performances, shaping movements and pacing to match the film's electrified tone. Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015. Mad Max, Fury Road demanded authenticity in its post-apocalyptic world, and the costumes reflected that grit. Leather harnesses, metal studs, and animal bone adornments were crafted to look scavenged, but they inflicted real pain. Charlize Theron's Imperator Furiosa wore a mechanical arm prosthetic that weighed 5 pounds and limited her range of motion. The leather straps that secured it dug into her shoulder, causing abrasions and requiring frequent bandaging. Tom Hardy's Max Rokitansky donned a patched leather jacket reinforced with metal plates. The plates clinked during stunts, and the leather stiffened in the desert heat, chafing Hardy's arms and neck. Extras wore metal-reinforced codpieces and spiked shoulder pads that left bruises when they collided during chase scenes. Filming in the Namibian desert exposed the costumes to sand, salt, and sun, accelerating wear and tear. Crew members performed daily repairs with industrial sewing machines, but some pieces were discarded when they became too damaged. The result was a wardrobe that looked lived in, because it was, day after day, of punishing stunts and extreme temperatures. The costume's discomfort mirrored the characters' survival struggles, each scratch and dent a testament to Fury Road's relentless momentum. The Little Mermaid, 2023. Halle Bailey's transformation into Ariel in The Little Mermaid introduced a modern take on an underwater princess, but the costume process was anything but whimsical. The silicone and bead seashell bra weighed nearly 2 pounds and required custom fittings to contour to Bailey's body. The bra's attachment points had to be waterproofed for extended underwater shoots, leading to skin irritation around her shoulders and chest. The tail, constructed from flexible neoprene and layered with scale-like silicone panels, limited Bailey's leg movement, making swimming drills a grueling workout. Underwater scenes demanded Bailey hold her breath for up to 90 seconds while maintaining a graceful posture. The tail's rigidity meant that buoyancy control was crucial, Divers escorted her during takes to ensure safety. On land, the tale became a conversation starter that sparked debates over casting and character design. Fans argued over the modernized costume's faithfulness to the original animation. Bailey faced online scrutiny, some praising the innovation, others lamenting the departure from tradition. Despite the challenges, Bailey's commitment to wearing the full costume underwater lent authenticity to her performance. Each weighted stroke and every careful dive reinforced Ariel's journey from curious mermaid to courageous heroine, her costume's burden echoing the character's own transformation.